This is going to be a review of Robert Oster Australian Sky Blue in this Twsbi Eco-T. But before I get into the ink and all its properties, I want to talk to you about asbestos. Why does this matter? Because a lot of mining in Australia, where Robert Oster is asbestos mining, as well as gold and other elements as well, but it's mostly known for asbestos thanks to a Midnight Oil song, but I will delve more into that right now. There's an abandoned town in Western Australia in the Pilbara region called Wittenoom, spelled Wittenoom. The whole town was abandoned due to an unsafe amount of asbestos fibers that were found around the area. The working conditions in this area were horrid. People did not want to work there, so they started bringing in immigrants from like Italy and Germany and all that to work in these mines. And subsequently, most of those people have died due to the asbestos that's there. The asbestos that was mined there was called blue asbestos. Blue asbestos is a variety of asbestos called chrysotolite, or ribikite, whatever you want to call it. Now, before I get into it, I will say, unless you are trained and unless you know what the heck you're doing, do not touch asbestos ever in your lifetime, unless you know exactly what you're doing and you have all the right materials to do so. In comes this. This is a little display I got a while ago, and I put a bunch of asbestos into it. This is what they mined there. This is ribikite, which, as you can see, is this really nice blue color. And that's where blue asbestos comes from. This is what they mined there. This is chrysotile in the back, the bigger one, and I can't forget what the smaller one, or I can't remember what the smaller one is. But I will say that this ribikite is much more poisonous than this asbestos over here. Asbestos as a whole is not that poisonous if you know what you're doing. If you see it in your house, leave it alone. It's perfectly fine. But if you touch it and mess with it, that's when you're going to have problems. And that's when I say don't ever get near it unless you know what you're doing. The reason ribikite is much more poisonous versus chrysotile is the fibers for ribikite are much thinner. I mean, we're talking like, I'll just compare it to like a block of wood to a human hair. That's the difference between chrysotile and ribikite. Now, I will admit that people were really quite stupid, and they put this asbestos into cigarette filters, which was not the best idea. But anyway, this is the asbestos that they mined, and I just love that blue color, don't you? Also, that chatoyancy that Chris talked about in one of his videos is very prevalent in here, and that's also what gives tiger's eye its beautiful color. Tiger's eye is fossilized as asbestos. Anyway, on to the ink. The ink is in this Twsbi Eco-T, which I'm having mixed feelings about. Maybe you can see the ink sheens. It sheens a really pretty color. If you can get it on the feed, you know, it doesn't really do it much on the paper much, unless you were to literally leave it in the pen for like a week and then go back to it and write with it, then you're going to have just solid sheen. But the color itself is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Here, I'll show you. It shades beautifully. I mean, you can see how it shades over here with the C and the O, the T and all that. It shades wonderfully, and I find that to be absolutely drop dead gorgeous. You can see partially in there, maybe. Probably can't actually, but the feed seems to sheen a lot more with the ink than the paper ever will. But this ink reminds me a lot of Navajo turquoise, which I'm guessing they both have roughly the same kind of premise when they were making them. I call Robert Oster Australia's Nathan Tardif because he pushes the envelope when it comes to certain inks, and I think that comes along great in his inks. This ink is pretty wet flowing, as you can tell. It's very pretty though, you know, I gotta say, you know, not many inks are truly pretty. This is a really nice, bright blue, and I kind of like that a lot, you know. You wouldn't know it by looking at the Twsbi itself, but in general, I think it looks fantastic. Personally, I've had some problems with Robert Oster inks in the past. I have a bottle of spearmint that I just never really got into. I've tried and tried and tried, but it always clogged my pens up immensely, and it always took me ages to clear them out. So I never had that great of an affinity for his work. But I will admit that he's doing a lot to change certain properties of inks for the masses, and I respect him for that. Now the Twsbi Eco-T, I'm getting there. I never liked the Twsbi Eco, but I don't know, it's just, there's something everybody seems to like about the Twsbi Eco, and I just never got into it, I guess. But this pen seems to be okay because the grip is bigger, and that was my biggest gripe with the Eco. But anyway, I hope you liked the educational part of this. It took up a bulk of the video, but in general, I think that is it's pretty pertinent to know about asbestos. And again, if you know asbestos and you know about asbestos, you are much safer off than someone who doesn't. And I recommend you go to Flickr, which if you don't know what Flickr is, it's an not Amazon. It's a Yahoo company. They have a lot of people who post pictures and whatnot. There's a guy on there called Asbestorama. He's essentially obsessed with asbestos, and he posts a lot of asbestos pieces, and I love the fact that he does that. He posts a lot of really interesting pieces, historical pieces of asbestos, you know, in your typical household, etc., at least from the past, as well as companies and old posters about it, and I think that is a really nice educational part of the website. It's one of my favorite things to just spend some time looking through his photos and enjoying myself. Alright, if you have any questions about asbestos, feel free to ask them. Again, riboside, much more poisonous than chrysotile. A lot of what was mined in the United States was chrysotile, not riboside. It's funny because I've been to an abandoned town, but it was due to natural gas and not asbestos. But I've also been to a town in Pennsylvania where it was essentially an asbestos and uranium mine, which is just, you know, like a double whammy. It's kind of funny. All right, have a good one, and hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.